Their ruling on whether a family can create a baby that would save their youngest son's life. Zain Hashimi has a rare blood disorder and urgently needs a bone marrow donation.
Park Hospital in Nottingham, where the Hashmi family have been taking their son Zain. He has a rare blood disease and may die without a bone marrow transplant. Today his parents will be told if they can scan embryos to create a baby as a donor. The case has sparked a row over designer babies, but some believe it could have been avoided.
In an ideal world, everyone would have their perfect match when they need a transplant. We want to have as diverse a number of people in our register, as many different backgrounds, because we do not want to see situations where families are crying out for that match.
The Trust has 300,000 bone marrow donors on their register. This machine is analysing DNA for possible bone marrow transplants. There are 800 requests a year for donors, but 40% of people are told they can't find a match after the first search. Only about 2% of donors are from Asian backgrounds. Like the Hashmis, the Mir family also needs a bone marrow match for 2-year-old Ibrahim. He's already had around 60 blood transfusions in his short life.
We'd just like to, encourage more people to join the register so that people, children like Ibrahim do find a match and, their life could be saved, because we're running out of days, literally.
But unlike the Hashmi family, Ibrahim's parents don't want to create another baby as a tissue match. They're still pinning their hopes on a donor coming forward. Sophie Hutchinson, BBC News.
Well, joining us now are the fertility expert, Dr. Mohamed Taranissi, and Dr. Vivian Nathanson from the British Medical Association's Ethics Committee. Dr. Vivian Nathanson, starting with you, do you have any ethical problems with this?
I think there are significant ethical questions which don't necessarily make a decision for or against, and the questions are, is it reasonable to create a child in these circumstances? Can we be confident that that child will be loved for itself? Can we make sure that the child does not in any way become a commodity? And of course we also have to recognise that because these parents carry this genetic disorder, there is going to be a look at which embryos would be implanted, to only implant one which isn't similarly affected, and therefore is it only a minor step to go forward and say let's also get a genetic match?
Dr. Taranissi, am I right in thinking you have no real problem about going ahead and producing embryos for specific purposes like this?
Well, I don't think there is any ethical problem here, because medicine is all about preventing illnesses and curing illnesses. And this is exactly what we're trying to do here. If anybody has a problem with this, then you're actually questioning the value of medicine itself. Yeah,
it just strikes some people as being rather like designer babies, spare part babies, that sort of thing. One step on the road there, if not the step itself.
Well, I think these kind of headlines are very misleading, because first of all, we're not designing any babies here. We don't have the technology to control how the embryos develop in the lab. They develop at random.
But you're hoping to find a baby that would have specifically the same bone marrow type, aren't you?
Well, it's not exactly bone marrow type, but it's a baby that's got exactly the same HLA tissue type, which will be helpful to sort of treat another affected baby. And this is the essence of something called pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, which is already available in this country for a number of years. So it's nothing really new. It's just the test that is new, different from other tests. But the actual treatment has been available for a number of years.
Dr. Nathanson, if it doesn't affect the baby concerned, if you're taking bone marrow from one child and giving it to another, is that okay?
Well, the fact is, in this case, you would take blood from the umbilical cord, which of course has no effect on the baby and is completely, if you like, risk-free. That isn't a problem. The problem would come if that didn't work and you later wanted to take bone marrow from the baby. And I think in those circumstances you'd need to go to a court, because there are risks and distress involved. And it would be up to a court to say that it was in that child's interest to become a donor.
You would agree with that, would you?
Well, I mean, this situation could happen if there was a match already in the existing family. I mean, first of all, you screen sort of members of the family, like other siblings and children and so on. And if you have an existing match already, you would have gone through the same dilemma. So it's nothing really new.
The other issue you have, though, which is the one that's always brought up by the pro-life lobby, is every time you produce test tube embryos as such, you have to discard some. Loss of life, they would say.
Yeah, but that's basically what you do with IVF for the last 20 to 23 years. Nothing new here. This is the essence of IVF treatment. You create embryos, you select the best ones that have a better prognosis, better implantation rate, and it's been going on for 22 years all over the world.
So some are destroyed and some are not?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, you can't implant all embryos if people are able to produce many, simply because people don't want many children, they want one child.
But can you see the point that it's been going on for years and years and years?
Absolutely. I mean, I think discarding embryos because they're spare embryos will inevitably continue unless these are healthy embryos and people are prepared to donate them. And that is beginning to happen to people who can't produce their own embryos.
OK, Dr. Vivienne Nathanson and Dr. Mohamed Taranissi, thanks very much for coming in this morning.
Thank you.
What do you think about